is here. We're here for qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to see what 8 teams are going to make it out of an absolute bloodbath of just incredible talent and incredible players all across North America. What's up? My name is Jasmine. This is Corbeck. Are we ready to see some Canadians shoot each other?
Yeah, I guess we are ready to see some Canadians shoot each other. That's a brutal way to put it. There are some North Americans, some Americans mixed in there too. I think I've been seeing all week on the Twitter, right, these posts going out, hey, anybody, you know any Canadians? We need some Canadians to get into these matches. It's great. So I'm super excited. I'm really looking forward. CCL last year was super entertaining. Valors came out on top and a bit of a surprise win. It was a great event, and I think we're looking forward to another really great event here as well. It's great to have the CCL back in action.
Yeah, and you got some other teams that are ready to try and, challenge Valor's greatness, right? Like we got Arial Rise are jumping into this with Luis, who hasn't played since Parabellum and that whole thing, and as well as Kento and a lot of CL players. Milano's back. I mean, this is like Altiora all mashed together into one again with Kento and all of them. It's super exciting. We got a lot of teams to show you here. Tara's even playing in this, and I'm super excited to see her get first rounded. But like, there's a lot of different talent from all walks of life coming together to try and play and win in CCL. 4 teams will make it out of today's quals, and we have 8 to start with. Let's start with our 2 main rosters that we're going to be casting first, because we already have one of our games decided. That is going to be Arial Arise versus, it's like the Dream Heist. Oh man, I'm forgetting it. It's the Better Heist. There it is.
The Better Heist.
The Better Heist. Yeah.
The upgrade right there to the heisting world.
They're not
you
heist.
Perform one.
They're the better.
They're not the heist. They're the better heist. Yeah. They've gone back. They've drawn it up. They've got again. But like you were saying, I mean, some names that you probably recognize here, especially on the side of Arial Arise. That's a name in and of itself, right, Jazzman? That a lot of people who are familiar with this level of Siege play will recognize. They kind of have a storied history. There've been some ups. There's been some downs. They've rebuilt their rosters a couple of times, and this is the one that they're choosing to bring here into CCL today. And like you said, players to watch out for and players to look for. Louise in action, Ashen, you'll recognize that name as well. Kento, Milano, and CZ as well. It's a very solid roster, and I'm going to admit my own kind of lack of knowledge here and say I don't necessarily know a ton of players over on the side of the Better Heist, but I feel like you're more in touch with the zeitgeist of Siege. Maybe you know some names.
So we got Morocco coming back from Morocco. Last time we saw him, he was on Smoke Break with TPA, and it was a Challenger League roster. He's here to represent the Better Heist. I believe Hollywood is Braxton, but I'm not too sure about that. We got Jake, who I do know is one of those Canadians. Haiku, who is on Eclectic. I think that's how you say that. And then Needles, the FPL god himself. So, quite the roster you have stacked up here. It's kind of a difference, it's like you have established players versus kind of a pub stack of players that have kind of yet to kind of get themselves inside and prove themselves. And then on the side of Arial Rise, you have Challenger League player Kento, CZ, who just came off of a run with Aqualix, Ashen, who's just been running the mills of T3, and then Milano and Louise, who have each competed and won in their own rights previously to this. So it's kind of experience versus inexperience. I think both of these teams are kind of going to play like pug stacks, but still you got a lot of established names on the side of Arial Arise and some still trying to make a name for themselves on the Better Heist.
Yeah, I think you're right. Both teams probably going to be a little bit kind of, I guess, maybe coordination clunky just a bit coming out of the gate. But I mean, it does look to be a good day here in qualifiers for Arial Arise, like you were saying. I mean, there's some serious experience, coming into this. But the funny thing about these quals, really, they do tend to go in ways you don't even expect. And it's the entire apply to CCL, right? We look at Valor's kind of coming out on top last year. I think a lot of people expected it was Viral that was going to take that spot. So, upsets will happen. It is worth pointing out there is a losers bracket here as well. So even in these initial best of ones, these teams are kind of not doomed, right? If things don't go their way initially, they'll have the opportunity to fight their way back into this. But regardless, I think, Jasmine, we're looking at a very exciting series of matches today. Hopefully we get some good games on a map pool that is relatively interesting. Do we have map bans yet? I don't know if we managed to get those from the teams. Oh, okay. Well, let's take a look. Speaking of map pools, then let's take a look at our map bans and see what we will be playing on here today. If you're seeing Consulate, by the way, that's just a minor graphical error. Replace that mentally. Use your imagination. That's Bank. Looks a little bit different, but it will be Oregon here that will start us off. Perhaps no surprises there.
One of the more even maps, most played maps, definitely in the competitive pool at the moment. It's the most established. There's no other way around it. It's the Dust 2 of Siege at the moment, and
Yes.
it's a good way to start us off here. It's a good refresher for all of those CCL fans out there that don't remember what Siege is like. They haven't felt the touch of Rainbow Six in their hearts recently. This is a good way to get us off. It's a classic to kick us off between two pug stacks, I guess you can call them. And if they, if these two teams are to play like a pug stacky sort of style, this map should fit them perfectly, because this is a map where you can kind of go on the fly, just use default strategies, and as long as you play up to par, as long as you play well together, you should do fine.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike, right? Going to Oregon, everybody knows kind of theoretically what you should be doing in any different kind of given combos or various combinations. It is worth pointing out that this was, I think, the second most picked map during the last CCL season, just behind Villa. So it got a lot of play there. And overall, it was still leaning towards the defender side. Out of the data we had from last season, I think it was about 52% in favor of the defender. And I think it still, holds relatively true that it is a slightly defended cider map, but like you were saying, Jazz, it's equal, right? It's a little bit more equal, and everything should be not scripted per se, but relatively easy patterns to kind of fall into. And the other thing is just pure map knowledge, right? Every player who's played a significant amount of Siege, especially at the organized play level, probably knows Oregon so well they could probably draw it, in their sleep, a little bit of auto writing, so that helps as well. When you're kind of in a less coordinated situation, you're still feeling yourselves out as a team. I think it's a very valid choice, especially starting off here in qualifiers, to start off on some easy ground.
Yeah, it is one of those even maps, like you said. Defender sided, definitely at the moment. Oregon is, just historically, it always has been defender sided, and it kind of just comes down to the fact that there's a lot of map control that you need to establish, and it can be really, really difficult to do that, especially whenever you're pushing stuff like bunker, and there's actually pressure being applied there, and freezer as well. I mean, everything just kind of hurts whenever you try and push. You're never not going to be wasting utility, and never not going to be putting your life at risk whenever you push something on Oregon, and that's kind of why it finds itself more on the defender leaning side. But at the moment, it really isn't like the most defender sided map, so I'd say it's pretty even, and I'm not sure what sides each team are going to be playing. I'm not sure if who's going to start where, but if history were to have it. Okay, Better Heist is defending. So if history were to have it, Arial Arise should be, kind of on the back foot. But then again, you have very aggressive players on the side of Arial Arise. Kento is, your one of your entries in the CL realm. So this is a pretty aggressive team. Ashen as well. I mean, all underagers are aggressive at this point. So that's just kind of the play style. So I mean, I want to say that this should theoretically be a good start here for the Better Heist, but you just never know. You really don't, especially against a team like this that can be really unpredictable in playstyle.
Yeah, they call them young guns for a reason, right? Like you got to get in there, you got to show off the skills. And Oregon is one of those maps where I feel like because it is so staid, because it is so well known, if you don't adequately anticipate things that happen outside of those patterns, you can really get taken advantage of. Sometimes you just have somebody come sprinting into dorms. It's the absolute last thing that you expect, and then there's an Ash who's just murked 3 of your teammates who are still in the process of maybe establishing defenses or something up there. It is one of those maps where I feel like things can, if they do go out of control and if they do fall outside the pattern, they can certainly spiral in that regard. So it's interesting too, or Arial Arise forfeiting Clubhouse here for this. It is worth pointing out that in the last CCL season, Clubhouse was the most defender friendly map in the entire pool here. I think it had like a 60.9% win rate. Obviously Bank had not been introduced in, but Bank's in a bit of a weird spot. I don't actually know if we're going to see Bank played today at all. I feel like a lot of teams aren't going to risk that in a qualifier, just considering it's newer. But it's interesting that Arial Arise chose to forfeit that in favor of Oregon. I think that's a wise choice on their side as well. It's probably easier, I would say, maybe a little bit easier to attack Oregon in this day and age. But Clubhouse, it's starting to betray defenders just a little bit. Regardless, it's a fun map, and it's an easy map for us to follow, and it's an easy map for the team to follow. So it's all good.
Yeah, Clubhouse is probably, kind of coming across as one of the most hated maps in the pool right now. It was even like,
I don't know why,
theorized that it should have been removed. Now, obviously, stuff has happened that I can't really speak about because it's not my place. But Clubhouse definitely is, like you said, it's one of those maps where it just leans defender, right? But I think a good attacking team can always break apart a good like a defensive clubhouse. I think that's one of the biggest traits that you see in a lot of maps is just like, it really doesn't matter what side it is as long as the team is just simply better. The main thing that does make clubhouse attack so difficult, garage control. That's the main thing, right? It's just like, can you take control of garage on CC attacks? If you can't, it's rough. And then top floor control. If you can't get your soft reach above, you don't apply a lot of pressure. And, well, what are you going to do after that? Just got to push in, got to funnel, and it's not an easy time.
It is not an easy time at all. No, you're very correct. And I mean, I think when it comes to these map bans, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later in the day as well as these matches goes on, you do have to take into sort of account a sort of qualifier mentality for a lot of these teams, right? This is not a guaranteed tournament showing. This is a time where you're probably going to return to form. You're going to return to comfort picks as much as you can, which again probably justifies that Oregon pick just a little bit. But fortunately, we're actually into Oregon now, so we can see how these teams play this one out. You see Arial there in the blue, better Heist in the orange here, starting us off as we go into operator bans. Honestly, Jazz, not expecting anything too exciting here from these operator bans. They're usually pretty much set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like standard Thatcher ban, got a mirror ban here and there. I mean, maybe comfort picks, I guess. Maybe comfort bans could come on out as well. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen on that end. But yeah, Thatcher's going to be banned first here. So what I am interested to see here from Arial is who's going to be on the entry, because you have a lot of entry players on the side of Arial Arise, cooped up into one group, and that is why I guess Sophia will be banned. Yeah, fair enough. LMG a little bit too much, but I'm interested to see what roles are going to be played here, especially because you have so many like entry-esque operators nowadays. You have Finka, you had Zofia, you have Yana. I mean, and especially on it when you have players like CZ and Kento and Ashen all on one team, like I'm really interested to see who's going to pick what. But regardless, pretty standard stuff here, the Zofia ban. If it is surprising to you, the reason being is just 150. There's a lot of bullets that come with that LMG, and it can basically guarantee you gunfights at some point. So
yeah, it's the only ban here that I would say that was a bit outside the pale. I mean, in the last season, I think Thatcher was banned in like 86% of all bans, and Valkyrie was right there in terms of a similar number. The Zofia ban, like you said, it's the LMG neutralization. It's such a powerful gun. They unintentionally created a bit of a monster when they nerfed the assault rifle like that, because they clued everyone on to this beautiful, giant, endless bullet magazine. So it's definitely something to take pause a little bit here. But as we go ahead, you see the setup coming in. Looks like Kento will be taking the main kind of entry role there on the Finka, I would assume.
Yeah, and I mean, that does make sense. I kind of thought about it, and it's like, I get that Arial Rise have a lot of entries, but also like CZ is a pretty good flex. Elder's playing, which is interesting. I guess they couldn't get Louise. And you do also have Milano on entry as well. It's been a while since I've seen Milano on entry. Last I remember, he was an Ash main, and now he's sticking the Ana, got the nades in hand, the Gaunt 6, and actually a pretty standard lineup here as well on the side of, or on the side of Arial Rise on Oregon. One thing I did want to point out is the Flores is going to be an absolute pain in the butt. Yep. Better Heist can't do anything about that.
I was just thinking the same thing myself. I was looking at it, and they were 6-picking, and they picked in the Goyo there, so they're trying to get as much value out of Goyo shields before they get taken away forever as you possibly can. But I was just thinking that myself. The Flores has basically free reign at this point in time, right? As long as you can stop those drones from getting shot, there is nothing in terms of drone defense here on the side of the better Heist, which is going to make things like this sort of classic elbow hold, right, where you'll set up Hollywood behind a shield down there in the wall. That's going to become a lot harder to hold that position right now, because all you have to do is just get one Rotero up to him and you're done. The ADSs aren't going to protect against that, so it's a bit of a gap in the defense. I don't know if it's going to be the most impactful thing about this round, but I do definitely think it's something that we're going to want to watch quite closely here as they go ahead and start maneuvering their way in here. Morocco maybe trying to challenge just a little bit on tower. You will actually just take a little peek out the door, but I don't think anybody got quite stung from that encounter.
You got to be careful there if you are Milano, because, if you are Morocco, because Kento could just put you on skates with all those bullets, and he is going to be inside of tower. He's got a player right above him in T2. I'm not sure. I think that is Ashen. So they've gotten control of tower pretty early on, and they're going to be able to get into meeting with literally no issue whatsoever. And Ashen on Maverick as well is going to be perfect for countering the Kaid. E-Box hatch is going to be opened here with little under a minute. And pretty good start here from Arial Arise. They're just going to establish themselves a little bit, get some early control, and the main thing is that they're going to have that intel on the player sitting inside of tarps, and that nade is going to come flying right into the Wamai disc. A minute gone, and there's a lot of intel here on the side of Arial Arise. Nade's going to come soaring through. Needles will get tagged, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. The aggression that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Look at that challenge, by the way. That's a bit bold there, Needles. It'll be Milano who secures the kill in the end, but Kento could have easily got it as well. Milano lost about a quarter or a half, let's say, of their health in that little exchange. But look at this. Ashen basically all the way in through E-Box. He's straight up there, nearly takes out the Jaeger on the shot, swings the corner again, absolutely lit up at point blank range. Jake on the cover right there doing a good job. Now this C4 comes sailing out as well. Look at that! Jake Shiesty gets 2 with the C4, and then Morocco taps it off, and all of a sudden it's just CZ alone on blue.
What a C4 there from Jake. He just eliminates everyone inside of E-Box, and now CZ's all on his own. He's got 26 bullets per mag, and that is a high damage weapon, but that's not going to grant him any kills. There's the better Heist. Start out with an explosive attack there. A beautiful C4 from Jake, and a beautiful triple kill from him on the round. E-Box is completely out for Arial Arise. Not up for grabs, unfortunately. Not on the auction. And in general, just really good control there from better Heist. I'd say Arial Arise just kind of funneled into tower a little bit too quickly. Ashen was kind of just going in. He was trying to punch a hole in the defense of the better Heist, but they kind of just backed up and let him walk into them. At that point, it was just a one versus everyone. It was him. It was Ashen just walking into a bunch of angles that simply don't favor him. He got eliminated pretty quickly, and then the rest of better Heist just collapsed on the rest of Arial Arise because of that opening frag that just, you can't really refrag that at that point.
No, you're 100% correct there, Jez. It was a good bit of aggression, I think, in theory, right? You just try and get in and cause havoc. Unfortunately, I just don't think that they were applying enough pressure overall to enough angles that he could really kind of capitalize on that. No members of better Heist were particularly pinned down right there. And then, I mean, obviously the C4 over the top with the 2K, that's an unexpected, right, set of casualties to see come in, and it does change the calculus just a little bit. So a good round there from better Heist, maybe a little bit lucky with the C4, but in general, a solid defense. As we move ahead here to upstairs, we go to dorms, we take a look at, again, a very standard defensive format here. They have dropped the Wamai in favor of the Malusi in this setup. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. You know, there's still going to be a propensity of frag grenades, though, on the side of Arial Arise, so that is something that is going to be maybe a little bit more impactful. And, oh, no. What
do you mean? Oh, that's it. Needles has forfeited. He has given up. This is not what FPL looked like. This is not what he expected. He couldn't take it. He's done.
He couldn't take it. Broke him one round in. He just can't handle it anymore. It's
okay, Needles.
Oh, no.
I promise you, bro, like, it happens. It just happens. I'm sorry. It's unlucky. I'm sorry for you, Needles.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get a little bit of illumination on what just occurred right there. And hopefully it's not something that's going to cripple better Heist efforts, I should say, in this map. And better Heist is doing perfectly fine for themselves as is. Mulatto just getting absolutely capped right there. Might even get another kill here from Haiku. Nobody's checked down there in meeting. That's a pretty free angle.
Haiku's going to hold this for a very long time, and this is really common as well. It's not like they don't know he's there. That's going to be another, you know, layer to this attack that Arial Arise are going to have to get through. However, Arial Arise will get themselves inside of Trophy, and it looks like that's where the finish is going to be here, as the wall will get maved open. It might take a little bit more time, especially with Elder being dead and not having those Habana pellets to work with, but Ashen is just going to have enough to make an entry hole, and I believe Kento has just used up one of his nades to try and burn that ADS. They want to get rid of that shield inside of Attic, but unfortunately they won't be able to get to do that, as Kento's nade, I think, also got ADS. They're trying to clear the guy inside of Bolo, but no one is currently present there. A beautiful nade from Ashen will take down Jake inside of Attic, and with a minute 17 down, it is a war right now inside of Master Bedroom, and it's all going to slow down to a halt as we equalize into a 3v3.
Morocco on a pretty decent long angle there from the top of the stairs, still covering the doorway. CZ slowly pushing forward here, will wisely put the diffuser down for just a second as they try and figure out the exact best way to push this forward. Of course, Morocco with a decently commanding position of both the games wall and the entry here, so you can kind of cover both those angles. Somebody's going to have to shift a leg here, though. 45 seconds left in the round. Neither side yet really ready to blink. Good drone there from Ashen to just give him a very clear idea of where Morocco is. Let's see if they can actually capitalize on that. They're going to switch angles just a little bit here. I don't know, Jazz. They're running out of time to start making the kind of fancy maneuvers at this point in time. 30 seconds left on the board.
Well, they have flushed out Haiku. They know that he's coming back into sight, so they will be able to take this attic control here and just split this attack up. A beautiful shot there from Ashen. Yeah, he hits those. He's Ashen, and Kento will take down Hollywood. It's just down to Haiku on white stairs, and Kento's on for another as he's got the LMG in hand, and he knows that he can do some destructive damage with that. It's a round for Arial Rise to equalize here, and definitely an attack that was almost looking desperate, but it was a really nice call to try and rotate the players over towards Attic, because at that point, Attic was not any of Arial Rise's concern. The shield was completely gone. The players were all of the better heists were playing inside of dorms and kids respectively. So at that point, it just kind of turned into Arial Rise just being able to run around the map and choose where they want to go. And at that point, the call was made for Ashen to make his way inside of Attic. So all in all, really well played there to Arial Rise. A nice attack, and now we're equal. We're going to go back upstairs and see how Better Heist might handle this one differently.
Yeah, I think you're 100% on point right there. They were a little close on time, but it was called, I think, just in the nick of time to really get that rotate in and around. And like you said, it worked out perfectly. Interesting to note here, Hollywood has brought in a mute now, so they will have a little bit of anti-drone defense. I assume that's based on a general sense of frustration, probably with the Flores, maybe a little bit on kind of just the droning in general. I mean, it was a good quick little drone there from Ashen that sort of enabled the end of round play we just saw, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But I think that probably is a little bit overdue, and hopefully they will survive this prep phase with the entire team intact. It is worth pointing out, Better Heist was down a gun that entire time, so it was not necessarily a bad performance from them by any stretch of the word, and how they managed to work that out. Other than that, though, I mean, you look here at this site, and it's pretty much the exact same setup that they did last time, the exact same prep. As Jakey's he might have been looking for a little cheeky peeky right there, but nobody's going to oblige him at this point in time, Jazz.
Cheeky peeky. I mean, he's got the Cade, but he's also got a C4 and an Electroclon pocket, so I don't really know what.
I don't know the best idea.
What is it? I want to hear this. This is not. What is it?
I was just saying. I don't know if I'd peek. No.
My idea is to not peek it with the Electroclon.
Yeah, I agree. I think wiser heads prevail right there. It doesn't matter.
Anyway. And he never placed it.
He didn't.
Come on, Jake. Okay, well, I guess they don't teach you that in Canada. You're not supposed to waste utility like that. Tyler's on for another here. Kento, excuse me. He's gone for two. Jake and Morocco are both going to go down, and the control is really split up here. You see, CZ can't really get himself into Trophy without getting a shotgun to his face. And he's also got a cross being held against him inside of Armory, so he's got to be extremely careful with how he handles this. Ashen's going to swing. It's one for Hollywood, but he's going to sprint right into Elder. Not what you wanted there. Needles is behind, and he's got Case in his hands. 3 versus 1. He's only got 26 bullets to work with here, and he's going to try and go for one, but he can't. As Arial Rise will play the refrag, and they'll get a frag off of that as well. It's Arial on for yet another round. 2-1, and a very quick one this time around.
Yeah, Ashen and Kento just kind of coming into form right there. I don't know really what more that can be said. It's pretty bold, I think, to challenge a Finka on the window with an LMG. It is. There's no other way about it. And of course, there was that early nade kill as well on Jake. That was just unfortunate. These things will happen. So a bit of a rough round right there as they'll head back down to Laundry Supply. The top floor just not availing Better Heist at all here. The 6 pick out of the Goyo, potentially showing us a mute here. And sure enough, Haiku will take it. So again, kind of preparing for that that Flores, though. I think it's worth pointing out in that last round, Jazz, I don't feel like the Flores really mattered all that much. It was pretty much a straight issue of just getting shot in the head, which is, the Mute Jammers don't block bullets, unfortunately. So we'll see if they're able to maybe make a little bit more of a stay defense. Not yet. God forbid. They keep the dome pattern, but now they stop bullets. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see if they can make a little bit more of a stay defense here on this one.
Gibraltar. I shouldn't do that. I do not have the voice for it. That is.
Gibby stands.
I hate Gibby.
Rise up.
I hate Gibby.
Aww.
I despise
He's so lovable.
that character. No, he's not. He's the worst character in that game. I hate him. Plays a stupid little bubble down and runs around like a moron. I hate him. Frick Gibby.
I understand.
For the love of God, man.
I understand.
For the love of God. Anyway. Yeah, basement defense again. The last time we saw Arial Rise do this, they kind of all funneled down tower stairs, and they got quick control, which is definitely a positive on their end, but they definitely need to spread their forces just a little bit, and that's kind of what we've been seeing win rounds for them, is just being able to delegate where each player needs to go, instead of just all funneling, a force downstairs. But yeah, Arial very fast on this clear. As per usual, they'll be able to get Ashen in to get the E-Box hatch, and that was kind of what was going well up until the point where Ashen he wanted to make a play, and it simply didn't work, and that's just where we'll leave it at. At that point, you made your mistake once, you're not going to make it again. But what I am interested to see is how they're going to get rid of this shield. They've got 6 sets of nades as well as CZ on the Flores, but also you have to remember Haiku is on mute this time, so it could be a little bit tougher. They might choose to ignore this, especially with Needles sitting tarp. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it is interesting that they're sort of funneling into a similar pattern what we saw last time, which is this quite rather one-dimensional attack. Though I think you do see Elder is it over there on the other side, maybe opening up just a little bit of a different angle here, another avenue of pressure that they could apply. About 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock, but a good early kill there on to Milano. We'll take the Yana out of consideration. That means the frag grenades are down as well, and it looks like CZ, is going to start rolling in with those Rateros. They won't even make it through the door. It's being watched quite confidently. Kento, though, evening it back up, gets revenge for his teammate. Now we're still at a 4-4 here with about 1:20 left. All the teams sort of positioned rather tightly here, and I'm just looking to see if there's another player that can push up here. Oh, Needles challenging on the staircase there will get Kento down. That's a pretty good kill. He slashed out and he'll fall back to a more defensible position, but Hollyhood still here on this shield and elbow, not going anywhere.
Yeah, Needles is playing this really well, has a perfect mix of aggression and safety, but now Ashen's going to be challenging him on long haul. He's going to swing out and get the kill, and he will be now in a 3 versus 3. Really good kill there from Ashen to finally take control of Pillar. It'll kind of make this position for Hollywood a little bit more difficult, because he's going to have to manage multiple angles at once, as Morocco will go down on the rotate thanks to the bullet spray of Ashen, who's currently on for his 3rd kill. Now he's going to come soaring above the shelf. Last time we saw C4 land that shelf, but this time it's Ashen's grenade, and that's going to force Hollywood to make a play. He's got to cross with a player sitting inside a freezer, but it won't matter as Ashen is on for 3. Haiku, 1 versus 2. He's got lit down CZ. If he's just going down. He's only got an SMG-11 in hand. C4 is going to shoot its shot, but it's not going to land. And it's just down to this mute, and unfortunately he just can't look 2 ways at once. And Arial are on for their 3rd round. Yeah, that C4 is just a little bit too... It's quite a narrow margin, but he's not able to land it, and unfortunately you can't do much after that. So Arial will rise on for another.
It would be a hard seed. I think that's a hard nitro throw to kind of thread that one into where it needed to be. But, a valiant effort there. Again, though, we're sort of seeing a pattern, I think, develop here, Jazz, where it's just pure aggression coming out of Arial Rise, like we talked about before we got started, right? It's just the gun skill. It's just pushing. I mean, on that particular one, from a sort of, I would say, a tactical perspective, right? They were sort of getting stuffed right there. They didn't have a lot of options. They hadn't managed to clear the hold on elbow. They had gotten E-Box open, but they, were getting challenged on the stairs and what have you, and then it was just sort of like, oh, you know what, we've got ourselves a little ingress here, we got a good kill, let's just push it and see how many people we can kill. And it really worked out. I mean, the minute that the sort of storage room became inviolate, you just had poor Hollywood stuck there on the shield. There wasn't a lot of options, just too many angles for him to really push back in. So a very, very solid effort there from Arial Rise, and maybe a little bit disconcerting here as well for the better Heist. Just they do seem to be struggling a little bit to match these tempo of these very aggressive pushes that are coming out of Arial when they basically want them to.
I mean, that's the thing. The only player that you really kind of have playing aggressive positions usually is Needles and Jake, right? Like, they're not very static on those positions that they're playing. Needles was doing really well inside a pillar on tower, but eventually whenever he had to fall back, that control was immediately filled up by Arial Arise, and that's what you have to be careful of, right? Arial will not waste time in seeing a gap on your defense and taking it. So that's kind of what went wrong that time around there for Better Heist. And what happened last time was simply the fact that, I mean, Better Heist just swung for nothing. They really always got refragged. They lost control of actually, they didn't really lose control much. It was quite an aggressive round, to be honest. I'd like to go back actually to the first time we played upstairs. Better Heist lost control of Attic, and that was the main thing that Arial were able to kind of slot into their attack whenever it came down to a 3 versus 3, if you will remember that. I believe it was round 2. And that's where Ashen was able to just get in and get aggressive. The shield was completely gone. There was no utility to work with, and most importantly, there was no players to work with, and that was taken advantage of swiftly. So if Arial Rise continue this pattern of just challenging these aggressive players, both Jake and Needles, if either of them go down, the rest of your players have been kind of playing, pretty sedentary. They haven't been moving a lot. They've just been holding their positions down, and unfortunately, it just hasn't been working against this playstyle.
It's a very wide-ranging defense from a couple of the members here. Hollywood in a bit of an interesting position there on the smoke will sort of wend their way back in, but Needles in particular is way out in the field right here. Will have to sort of maybe make their way back soon. Milano is down in that general area of Kitchen as well, so I don't know exactly what happened to our intrepid Jaeger, but you see the Flores is coming in right now. There goes one of the Volcans, where they become less of a hinder, or less of a help than a hindrance, I should say, as Milano secures the kill onto Needles. So that is the end of the Jaeger Odyssey, way over there on the other side of the map. Maybe a little bit of inevitability, all things considered. Nook is very good at stealthy assassinations. It's almost as if that's what the character was made for, to be super sneaky. But Elder here will manage to go ahead and get game wall open. About 1:15 on the clock. This is looking like it's set up relatively nicely here for Arial Arise to just leverage their aggression as yet another Volcan goes down to a Rotero.
Another thing that's important with Milano being underneath is that if they can properly drone kids, Milano will be able to just get a kill from underneath with nades. It is going to be an all-out war, though, as Hollywood has gone down. It's just down to Haiku, who I think is stuck inside of dorms. No, he's stuck inside of kids' dorms, and he's got one to his right, and unfortunately it won't matter as Ashen swings in once again. A hole punch through the attacking part, or sorry, from the attackers on the side of Attic, and at that point Arial Arise were just able to get themselves inside, and even though Ashen went down, the damage was already done. It was just a flurry of mistakes there from Better Heist. I mean, not even from Better Heist, actually. I think it's just the fact that Arial Arise have just been getting so aggressive, and no matter what, Better Heist just cannot predict them at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a matter, right, of Better Heist playing particularly poorly. No, like they're playing about average, I would say here right now, right? Maybe a few, mistakes being made, but nothing I wouldn't necessarily expect at this level. It's just like you said, man, when Arial Arise finds that crack, they just pour everything into it. They're really doing a good job of capitalizing on those gaps. It's actually a little bit scary. I mean, I know that we're very early here. I mean, this is the earliest it possibly be, but if you were another team watching this right now and you knew that one day you might have to play Arial Arise, I'd be a little bit worried right now, just seeing how this is going. Speaking of interesting choices, Jake Shiesty here bringing us the Kotkan, which is somebody that we don't see an awful lot of, but he can be a big nuisance in his own way, unless you're being a little bit careful about your approaches, especially since they let him put multiple traps on doors now, so he can't actually just straight up guaranteed kills if that's what you want. Going down to Kitchen Meeting here, so they show their side in the perennial debate between Kitchen Dining and Kitchen Meeting, and sort of establishing this defense as best they can. I like the Alibi pick too. I feel like Alibi is a very solid operator, provides a fair amount of intel, and with the Flores, maybe some of those Geminis will get taken off the board, but not Geminis, I'm sorry, maybe some of those projectors will get taken off the board, but it's still something that they're going to have to deal with in a certain capacity.
Yeah, and the main thing that you really bring Alibi for, of course, is the fact that she has a shield and a really nice gun. And we talked about Needle's aggression and how it has kind of been beneficial on the side of Better Heist. Well, that's an example of what not to do if you get too aggressive. Needles is going to go down and Morocco's going to lose half of his HP. Already, Arial have barely got themselves inside the building. Milano doesn't even need basement control. He doesn't need it at all. He just peeks it and he gets a freebie. That is the issue with how Better Heist are playing. They're challenging stuff that they just don't need to be challenging. There's nothing important about Needle's position on the basement until later on. And it also doesn't help that Kento is inside. Well, now he was inside of Ashen's bullet there. Ashen will get the plant down here. Morocco's on for CZ though, and it's going to be a flurry of trades. Ashen is just planting in the most random, secluded spot I've ever seen in my entire life, and no one is there to stop it. No one is of the wiser. Morocco will spot the diffuser here. He's very low HP, and he can't hit the shot there. Onto Ashen. He's got a bailiff in hand now, and desperation is on the face there of Morocco as Elder walks right into Jake's cap can. It's down to Braxton in a 1 versus 1. Also very low on HP. Ashen is on for 10 kills as well. And although this is a really interesting plant spot, it looks like it's going to end up working out here. Is Ashen, all he has to do is just play inside of meeting, and there it is. Or sorry, inside of dining, and there it is. He's just got the frag. He's kind of walked in. He didn't even let Kento step in his way.
He just killed everybody. He killed his own teammate even. He's just murdering across the board right there. That was pretty funny. He just walked in and just like slammed that diffuser down, like you said, in the most random spot. And it just worked out. There was even a Capcan trap kill in all of that. So it was a bit of a very strange round, but I appreciate what was just illustrated right there. If only for the pure chutzpah of just kind of pushing in and throwing that diffuser down, worked out quite well. But again, you know, it echoes back to what we've been saying, right? They saw a weak spot and they just exploited it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of defensive coverage of Kitchen. They got in the front door. They effectively sealed off the rotate there coming from meeting, and they just, you know, went to work, right? So a good play from Arial Arise as we get ready here for round 7, which will be the defense now for Arial Arise. Not looking particularly hot at the moment for the folks from the better Heist. Of course, losers bracket, they'll get another bite at the apple, but not the way they probably wanted to start the day here, all things considered. A pretty standard defensive setup, by the way, from Arial Arise. Interesting to see CZ on Maestro. I feel like I don't see a ton of Maestro down here, though he is certainly a viable pick.
But I love Maestro. If I could tell you there's so many things that I love about Maestro. His gun is so much fun. I like Maestro. He's one of my more favorite operators on defense. But yeah, an 81 to challenge Finka, maybe that could be something that you could also keep into account. The fact that it's bulletproof, of course, definitely helps out a lot. Obviously, you can melee, and that's kind of why Maestro has fallen out of favor for a lot of teams, is the fact that you can just break the glass and shatter it. And basically, the only way you can use Maestro cameras in terms of vision is by opening it. And at that point, it is vulnerable to bullets. So yeah, you can kind of see why Maestro has a lot of workarounds and why he's brought a lot. But there's also some benefits, right? I mean, it can destroy utility pretty safely if you put it like on a, for example, in case like maybe Hibana decides to use pellets on a shield for God knows what reason. You have a Finka and then Giannis who don't, but if that ever happens, you can shoot the utility off. And then if they ever want to, I guess a better case is if they want to breach E-box wall, and there's a Maestro camera sitting inside of, I'm not sure what happened. I guess they just jumped in. I don't know how they missed Drone Kento, but they missed Drone Kento. And unfortunately, mistakes have consequences, as Ashen is on the needles as well. Kento's on for his second kill, and Haiku, I don't know what he can do here. Milano's going to swing security and lose his life. Now Ashen looking for yet another, and it unfortunately will net him a lot of damage dealt. Haiku's just sitting inside a freezer. Oh my, you don't just peek Kento and get away with it. The man is a wizard, and now he's on for his third kill. And now it's just Braxton in a 1 versus 4. Mana's got his own chart in the game, but I'm not sure how that's going to help him in this case, as Arial Arise are looking to make this a 6-1 lead and bring us into match point. It is best of 1, so this is literally going to be it. He is inside a pillar, and that will be called out here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have 81 bullets. He doesn't have 81 bullets to challenge like CZ does, and Arial Arise. 6-1 now, leading pretty heavily, and there's nothing at the moment that is willing to stop Ashen and Kento on their absolute warpath inside of Oregon.
No, it's been all Ashen and Kento. I was just thinking that as we were watching that go down. I mean, from the very start of that round, right, it was ridiculous, Kento picking up those kills. But just in general, I think Kento, one of the two of them, and I'll have to go back and look when we can get the screen, is sitting on 12 kills. I think the other one has 9. They've just been the most dominant force in this lobby, basically a force of nature. And so many of these rounds have really fallen to the two of them. I mean, you think back to what we just saw, a round ago when they were attacking and meeting in kitchen. It was just all Kento and Ashen kind of making the plays. And I don't want to take away from the rest of the members of Arial Arise. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's just that these two are clearly sort of standing heads and shoulders above everybody else in this lobby right now. And when you're on the side of the better Heist and you're in a position where there's just these two players kind of going whole hog, right? Like what are you really, what are you able to do? Like you said, you don't peek, right? You don't peek and get away with it. And it's just a little bit scary at that point in time. You feel like you're kind of trapped in a situation where it's just not clear what your effective positioning really is. Like, what can you do? You got to just hope maybe you can kill Kento at random, but it seems almost impossible. It's like a raid boss, basically, at this point in time.
There's a reason why Kento is basically considered one of the best CL players and pro league material, and it's only a qual, but he's kind of showing why, and that's why Ashen is also in this discussion. Look at the kill spread. I mean, I get that they're the entries, but this is a wide margin. 9 and 12 compared to 3, 2, and 4. I mean, that's a lot to come by. Kento has a combined kill rate that is equal to both Milano, Elder, and CZ. So, that just goes to show. And these players, they do get the respect they deserve, and I'm glad that they do here. Ashen is looking for a swing, and that's his 13th as he lines up Jake and knocks him down with no problem. Jake is gonna have to walk out of here with stitches if he even can, because the map is almost over. We're dawning the final round, and Arial Arise have a man advantage.
And unfortunately, Jake was the top frag there as well for the better Heist, so that's not boding particular well. The Finka 2 getting taken out first is a kind of a crying shame, all things considered. The usefulness of your utility completely gone, and the frag grenade's gone as well. Bad, just not good. Not a good start here when your life is on the line. And to be honest, let's be fair. Better Heist probably knows that their effective lifetime in this match is decreasing by the second, all things considered. But no doubt they'll still put up a decent enough fight. 2 minutes into minute into the round here, give or take, and they're still trying to sort of take control and feel their way out. And it looks like they're just kind of being challenged wherever they go. Kento there watching the window at the bottom of the stairs, just kind of waiting for somebody to push it. Looks like Morocco is the only one who's in a relatively confident sort of control position, holding outside a big window. As Kento goes on the hunt here a little bit, might be looking for, I believe that's Haiku there on the Nomad, who's also on drone at the same time.
They've spotted him, though, so Haiku at least has an idea of what Kento is holding. Now it's part 2 of, can you get him out of here? He's swinging with an MK14, and luckily enough, Braxton is there with a rifle in hand, and he will take down Kento, so it is equal now. But that's a lot of time wasted. A minute is only left here for Arial Arise, for Better Heist, and they're going to have to get themselves in pretty quickly. Morocco, thankfully, is Yana, so he can clear this Aruni Gate lickety-split, but again, the control here is minimal. Arial Arise, or Better Heist, are not pressuring Arial Arise whatsoever from underneath. They aren't using their nades to their advantage. Arial Arise are sitting comfortably right now, while Better Heist can barely get themselves inside. But Morocco will take down Milano, a massive kill there. Any kill at this point is good, as it does look like it is going to be a white finish. But Elder is holding this down perfectly as he's on for one. But Needles and Morocco will each get a kill. It's just down to CZ in a 1 versus 2. Needles and Needles on white as well. All 3 on white. It's a 3 versus 1, actually. Excuse me. CZ does find Needles, but that's all he's going to get there. Really well played at the end. Better Heist just managed to funnel up white. I'm really surprised that Elder didn't do more there on white stairs with his shotgun, but all things considered, it was just a really good refrag on the side of Elder, or on the side of Better Heist. So they're gifted around now. It's 6-2.
Yeah, I mean, all the things you were saying in the build up to that, right? The lack of control, kind of the positioning right there did not look like it was going to favor Better Heist. And they did a good job there of kind of giving Arial Arise a slight dose of their own medicine, finding a weak spot, exploiting it. And a lot of it, too, based off the early kill on Kento. I mean, that was a good starter, probably a little bit of a morale boost, all things considered as well. And they were slowly but surely just kind of able to collapse. I mean, CD wasn't in the worst position possible, but probably not the best position to fend off the amount of kind of attackers that he was faced with in that scenario. As we go back to Kids Dorms again, Flores now coming into the lineup here. Haiku switching off of the Nomad, which I think is fair. They didn't get a ton of value out of the air jabs. I don't I don't know that was necessarily a bad pick. I feel like Nomad is usually a good pick in almost every circumstance, but I think the Flores will provide them with a little bit of utility that could work away at those Volcons. Clearly, the Volcons were something that they were thinking about quite a bit because you kind of saw them focusing them. You saw even at the top of the stairs, I think it was Needles tried to shoot one, couldn't quite land it. So it's definitely something that's been weighing on their mind just a little bit as the setup starts going here. They do have Milano on the smoke, by the way, which is a fair choice. And Kento again on the Aruni, still, I believe, with the DMR as well in hand. So maybe hoping for a little bit better odds here in the next 1v1 that they possibly fight. But I do wonder if we're going to see a tone down in the aggression here, Jazz, all things considered, because Ashen was playing very bold on that last start of the round.
Hey, Ashen is a swinging machine. I mean, you saw him just sitting inside a lobby, and I mean, he nails Jake. And it's heartbreaking because Jake is probably the best operator to put on that cutoff position inside, or rather outside of lobby, and he just gets smoked automatically. Like, what a rough start there. But it seems like he's almost going to lose a little bit of HP as well. Thankfully, he is Finka, so he can make up for his mistakes, but still. Goes to show just how much pressure Arial Rise have on the map this early on. CZ is sitting in pot of main as well. As Jake gonna swing into Armory. No one is there to greet him, however. It will be Drone, and he is completely clear to take this as well. But he's just got to be careful. He's got to realize that no matter how much control he takes, he will get swung. And that is what Morocco will learn the hard way, is he loses nades, a Gon 6, and the one thing that is basically perfect for countering a Rooney, the Geminis.
Yep. Yeah, that's another early round tough loss to eat. Another high kill player as well. Morocco's is tied for the top frag. It's just about as bad as it was last round in terms of losing someone very valuable in an early time. And again, you see that the Roteros are doing a little bit of work here. That's a good kill on the CZ to shut them down at this stage, but it might not be enough to quite get them through the way they want to. Jake does have full control over Trophy here, so that's a good start as well. Gives him a little bit of an option here. Needles is actually going to come in and use one of their flashes there to just go ahead and take down whatever defenses are on the other side of that. Here comes the Gon 6 as well, and now the frags will probably start to fly. One comes rolling in right there, trying to challenge the Volcon that Milano was hiding behind, and it did work. Milano was forced to fall back a little bit deeper into Attic there for their own safety, and another frag coming in as well, because why not? If you got the artillery, you might as well use it.
All even here in terms of man count, but it has been an absolutely aggressive round. Haiku's sitting outside of Master as well, so he's got a little bit of pressure that he can play with here, especially challenging that shield. Jake, a beautiful shot there onto Kento. It is going to be now 3 on the side of Arial Arise. Flashbang is coming on through here. Nade as well from Braxton. Jake's going to swing on into this player sitting inside of Attic, and it's successful for him as he's on for 2. It's just down to Elder in a 1 versus 3. He's stuck behind Dorms, and Haiku will take him down. Better Heist. They're starting to run away with this. They're getting some rounds here. They're rolling the snowball ever so slightly until it grows and grows and crashes on Arial Arise. But you still got 3 more attacks to make up here. But this is a good start if you are a fan of the better Heist.
Yeah, that snowball's got to roll a little bit farther. It's still a lot of mountain to go, but you're right. It is a very good start. I mean, they've looked a bit more decisive, let's say, on their attacking grounds. And like I said, delivering a little bit of their own medicine back here on Arial Rise in terms of the aggression that they're showing us, which I think is great. I mean, look at that play that we just saw right there from Jake. That was pure aggression. Looks like something we would see Ashen do from the other side. And it really worked. It completely caught him off guard. I just don't think that they were expecting someone to come flying in like that, all things considered. And when that flurry of flashes and nades and what have you went out, it also allowed them to move up that cover fire angle onto games. I mean, that was a very valuable and intelligent bit of play that they did right there. So yeah, it's definitely been good rounds for them. It's just, you got to maintain that momentum, and at any point in time, right, you've got Ashen and Kento sitting on the other side of the board from you, and they're just both waiting to pop off respectively. So it's a little bit scary, but at least they're making a valiant effort of it. As they go ahead and start down here on the basement, again, it's a very similar setup to run what they ran last time. No big surprises here. CZ even back on the Maestro.
81. He made some work with that on E-Box last time around, and I'm not sure where the Evil Eyes are placed. I mean, I'd like to see where they're placed, but we'll figure that out because my eyes are not very good at spotting small little things. So
think last time they had one on Pillar. I want to say there was one not on the Pillar, but there was one up by Pillar, and I don't know where the second one was. Maybe they thought maybe it was in Laundry or something like that. There's a couple of places you can put them to sort of help out with your defensive setup. Milano right there going for a cheeky early challenge. It's not going to avail them anything. Jake now in, and big tower control looks like it's being established relatively quickly yet again by Arial Arise, which probably means map control in general, as far as they need it, will be established relatively quickly as well.
I mean, at this point, they're trying to see if they can break the speed run record for that Arial Rise currently holds for the fastest meeting clear, but kind of off pace. But yeah, a little different here. The fact that the better heists are going to have to clear quite a lot of shields, and it seems like the Tarp shield might be next, but unfortunately, Haiku can't get that. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be a Flores main. You have to basically have played 1,000 hours of F1 2021 in order to accomplish anything, because you always have some dude staring at the floor just waiting to shoot your Rotero.
Yep.
But, you know, it's rough.
They do make a lot of noise.
They're also really extremely loud, yeah, and massive. Like, I mean, you can't miss it.
It's true. It's maybe not the most stealthy gadget that currently exists in the arsenal of Rainbow Six, like zero camps. They do the same thing. You fire one of those bad boys off, and everybody in a 6-mile radius knows that it's landed in a wall. But they're gonna go for the barbed wire there, I think, with the red arrow as they push up. Elder waiting for it. It just lights Haiku up. Don't think Haiku liked that at all. As Jake, though, immediately returns the favor. So at least they're trying to keep the boards even at the moment. As that C4 comes sailing up, and Jake has the hightail it because he was at low enough health that would have been the end. But a lot of pressure being applied here on Ebox Hatch as well, as Morocco gets one. And again, tied here. Milano picking up steam, gets one more. Now the defense here for Arial Arise tightening up just a little bit. They know that they have the man advantage. They just have to play patience.
And they've also got the right amount of utility for it as well. Elder's still got 2 smokes remaining, and you've got intel on the side of the Maestro cameras. If you don't remember, you can turn Maestro cameras if you're dead. So that's a lot of intel to work with here on the side of Arial Arise, and a lot of utility as well. No C4, however, on the side of Milano. He's also very low, so if anyone challenges him inside a freezer, he's going to have to rely on a solid crossfire from his teammates. Needles is going to make his way into Tarp, and they know that he's there. They know for certain. Prediction here is that Kento is sitting on the corner, but he doesn't know. Needles has no idea that Kento is there. And that's going to be really rough there. Elder will take off Morocco's head, and he'll take Needles down as well. What a way to finish it off there from Arial Arise. Elder is going to show up for that final round, and an all-important 2K will secure Arial Arise their first game in this qualifier.
A very good round from Elder there, clipping the wings early on, right? And then of the Flores, taking him out of consideration, and then getting the 2K at the end there, secure it. Couldn't ask for much better from him. It's stepping up, but really, obviously, it was Ashen who was the star of the show in the lobby with the mighty 14 kills. Jake on the other team just catching up on the side of Better Heist at about 10, but not quite there. A very, very solid start there from Arial Arise, looking like a team to watch and a team to watch out for.
Absolutely. I mean, this is you could expect it as well. I mean, you have so many players on that team that are just absolute stars. Box office sellouts like Kento and CZ, CL players, and then Milano coming back from the depths. Ashen, the greatest player T3 has ever seen. The young gunner. And Elder, who has proven himself today. I mean, Elder is not a name that you hear that much anymore, but I'm hoping that, he gets his name out there. He definitely played really well. I think he's the unsung hero of that game. His smoke placement were pretty decent. He had a really good stall time in general, especially inside a bunker. He was playing without a shield, and he was able to waste a lot of time. Yep. So your unsung supports there, really well played all in all to the entirety of Arial Arise. They just played coordinated, man. I don't know. I don't know if that's overrated nowadays, but they were coordinated, and I didn't expect that, especially from a sort of a pub stacky team. But it's very obvious that they have some solid leadership.
Yeah, very cobbled together group, but looking not at all cobbled together. A lot of kind of good communication. I mean, right there in the last round, we saw excellent communication to enable Elder to get that 2K. The Maestro Cam just feeding all that info as needed right in. It was a very good game for them. On the side of Better Heist, I think honestly it's just a bit of a rough draw to start early on, right? Like to have to go into, like you said, a bunch of box office sellouts right out the gate is a brutal way to start your day here in the qualifiers. So hopefully they don't get knocked about too too much. I mean, they had some flashes right there where they definitely showed us potential. They've got good players. I think they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do. It was just that when push came to shove, Arial Arise just looked like the better team. But they've got a losers bracket to fight to now on the side of Better Heist, and I don't think it would be surprising to see them fight their way out of that.
Yeah, for sure. They're a solid team, and I definitely think that they put up a little bit of a fight against Arial Arise. And like you said, it's just one of those tough teams, you know? Like, you're not going to beat them every time. I'm looking to look at the bracket. I want to see exactly where we're going to be here. Because I do know that this is probably one of the first games that have finished. But
I imagine.
if you are interested, Arial Arise will play the winner of Outlast Academy versus Cat Laugh, which is Terra's team. And then we're still awaiting Mystic Academy versus Agony, and then Neuters, which I believe is Pengu's team versus Sonic Boom. So, just gonna be waiting on that for the time being. Definitely a quick game between Arial Arise and the Better Heist. But yeah, don't knock yourself down. If you are Better Heist, it was a solid game. I just think he ran into the tougher end of the bracket. Not that there is an easy side at this point. I mean, you got Neuters on one side and then Arial on another. It's rough out here. But anyway. Yeah, Better Heist will get knocked down to the losers bracket, but I think they've definitely got some work to do, and I think there's potential for them to claw out.
100%. Well, like you said, we're going to wait for a couple of these games to finish up before we bring you the next round of action. Stay tuned. Plenty more here in this first qualifier for CCL Season 2 coming up to you right after this break.